Okay, we are live, it would seem. What do I got going on here? Okay. Don't mind me, just trying to get my head on straight here. So hopefully it is recording. Well, no, I know it's recording. That's the easy part. It is almost 5 to 7, 5 to 8 here. So that works out well. So, just getting things started. It's going to be an interesting day, at least from my end. So let us make sure we've got what we require. That was yesterday. Where did I put my pen? And of course. Well, this is why I'm here. Oh, somebody's here. I was just turning my back. That's why I didn't notice you and didn't catch the name. Marlena, good morning. Actually, in all fairness, Marlena, unless there's somebody else there, if you're referring to me, then my name is actually Keith. But the reason for the R at the beginning is not Richard, it's actually Ronald. That comes about from a very simple little issue. Now, what is today? Today is the 16th. So it was yesterday. So I require that. Okay. Yeah, not a problem from that end. I was actually originally called by my first name, but when I was 5 years old, I ended up walking out of the morgue. And the short answer to that is when I walked out, my parents, as near as I could figure, couldn't deal with the fact that Ronald had already died. So they just decided to call me by my middle name, which is Keith. Good morning, Charlene. How are we doing? At least I hope that read that. There we go. Figure, we might as well do something from a bizarre standpoint and actually get things organized, which is an odd idea in the first place. What do we got? Okay. If I seem a little scattered, it's just because I'm just getting things opened up. Let's see. Got that already, so that one can go. That can go. That one I need. I require, rather. Okay, that's garbage. What is that? That's garbage. Oops. That one's got to be kept to be transferred. This one is garbage. That one's got to be filed. This is just the paperwork that I work with on occasion, and that's the office layout. Okay. That gets rid of that, so watch your ears. Probably not that bad. No, definitely require that to be filed. Okay. Yeah, got one of those myself. I've actually just poured another pot. This is my second cup this size that I've had this morning. Oh, that's brilliant. Didn't hit send with that. That's why it wasn't going up. Denali, good morning. Hope you're doing well on your end of the world. Yeah, I'd love to remember where everybody's from, but I have enough trouble remembering where I'm from. So I figure, the world is doing some really annoying things right now. Yeah, leave that there for a minute. Oh, good. See, here's the neat part with my coffee. I actually, after my stroke, I went to a doctor. I've been down there a couple of times though, Denali. I haven't made a trip in years. I've got friends well, they used to be in El Paso. I'm not entirely certain if that's where they are now. I've got friends living down that end of the world. Love to go back and see them, but until this whole mess with the vaccinations and the passports and what have you, it goes away, I won't be able to make that trip. But no, after the stroke, I had, the stroke itself shut down my left side and my ability to speak. Well, after that, I went to the nutritionist to find out about my coffee, right? Because she wanted to know, well, she directly asked me, she goes, how much coffee do you drink? I says, I don't know, probably 30 to 40 cups a day. And she goes, oh, that's got to be cut back. And I looked at her and I says, well, you might want to know about that, about one little detail. I says, the average person takes a 12-cup pot and puts 4 tablespoons of coffee into it. And she goes, yeah, that's right. I take a 30 to put 4 in, which really boils down to about one every 12 cups. She goes, oh, for crying in a water bucket. She says, you're just flavoring the coffee and enough to take the edge off it. She says, what you're drinking is water. Carry on drinking as much as you desire. See, I don't mind the cinnamon. Okay. Yeah, I don't mind the cinnamon. Yeah, I don't mind the cinnamon. The cream, I don't bother with. I used to use cream when I started. As for the cocoa, it'll never hit my coffee. I just couldn't tolerate it. That's why. Yeah. No, sorry, I am not a coffee connoisseur. I just don't like the flavor of coffee. Good morning, Carl. How you doing? Well, like I said, I was looking at this. I've been looking at the world, and things are taking a massive turn for the worse in a lot of ways. Yeah, I don't understand. Like, I don't know why people do the butter thing. I know why the cream. Maybe, but I take it butter is just a replacement for cream in a lot of ways. Well, considering it comes from the same animal. Yeah, I usually have 2 cups of coffee. I mean, if you take a look at it, when I talk about 2 cups of coffee, I usually have 2 cups of coffee this size before 10 o'clock in the morning. Right. I'll probably go through 4 pots of coffee today without even blinking. But that's just me. Yeah, a buddy of mine, Denali, a buddy of mine loves cowboy coffee. Myself, I can't tolerate even 1 grain of grounds in the bottom. Oh, okay. See, I don't know much about diets. I listened. It was funny. I was watching some of the new doctors coming out, and they're going, "Oh, this idea of cut back on what you eat and cutting back on what you eat and moving, and exercising, does not cause you to lose weight." And I'm thinking the logic behind that is absolutely bizarre. Because when you think about it, if you burn more calories than you put in your body, and if that's the way you do it, providing it's healthy calories, right, then frankly, when you think about it, okay, you're going to drop the weight. But there are some ways of dealing with that. This is interesting. I'm just looking at the comments coming up here. And usually you end up with conversations and what have you. I really was not expecting to be talking about coffee. For me, see, you take a look at all the advertisements and they say, oh, this coffee, we always get, we get the best beans across the board. We get the best beans and that's what we use, pick them from the best plants, the most fertile soil. And that works for most coffee. Like I said, I'm not a connoisseur per se, but I did try one brand of coffee that I will not buy. As a matter of fact, I won't even take it for free. Right. And let's face it, I just don't believe in paying full price for much. But there's one type of coffee I will not touch, and that's Edwards coffee. Because I'll tell you, everybody else claims to have the best beans. In my opinion, they take what's left. Right? And I never could find a way, no matter whether you added cream, salt, it didn't matter. I couldn't find a way to make it palatable. I did find in my plants, especially the one he passed away while I was in the middle of my stroke. You know, I had a plant that was a coffee addict. Right. You know, so I mean, I take a look at the whole issue. Right. You know, I take a look at coffee and go, for the most part, I drink Folgers or Maxwell House, depending on which one happens to be available. You know, but no, the thing I look at, you know, I take a look at the way the world is right now, and so much is going sour with it that I figured, okay, enough is enough. You know, we've got to do something now. I can sit back. I hid from the world for a long time, kind of hoping, in all fairness, that people would grow up and actually start to figure out that they're doing things wrong. And I call it wrong because you take a look at the degrading state of the world, and that pretty much says it. See, I go through enough coffee. I've always got 3 or 4 kilos, aka about 8 pounds of coffee. You know, 8 to 10 pounds of coffee in backup. You know, because what I'll do is I'll wait till it drops to a sale price, pick up 3 or 4 containers of it, and carry on. I don't see any one of them. No, so I'm not going to go looking. Anyway. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, and that's actually a good name for it. Because I mean, I watch the way society is now. I've got an advantage over some. I remember past lives really clearly, to the point where I'm actually documenting them at this point. You know, I'm in the middle. As a matter of fact, I've added a new book to the bottom of my list. Quite happy about this. Where did I put it? Right there. Quite happy about this. I had 6 books in print until yesterday. Yeah, until yesterday. See, I wrote a children's book years ago. This little book here, okay, I wrote years ago was because I got fed up I got bored with reading the same stories, you know, day in and day out, you know, for my eldest son. And he turned about 2 years old. And I got bored with reading the same story, so I rattled this particular story off the top of my head, right? And what ended up happening is until he was a month before he turned 8 years old, he wouldn't go to bed without hearing this story. So I put it in print. Okay, well, just yesterday, this came into print. Okay, the sequel to it. Now, I'm hoping to find the 3rd installment. I wrote it years ago, and I'm hoping it shows up. This one just came out yesterday. Like, I just got it into my possession now. So I've added it to the bottom of the list. I'm also in the middle of putting up a website now. Okay, I've hired somebody to build a website for me regarding the books to make everything easier. I'm hoping it works. I'll tell you, the amount of problems I've had with things has been remarkable. However, a couple of things to keep in mind. I did mention that I wanted to look at how we can actually... That's always a fun setup, Denali. You know, remembering the time in between lives. that can be entertaining as all get out. That's quite literally where I have spent a lot of time in between. Not between the last life and this one. I only had a 7-year turnaround. Because my last lifetime, I passed away in 1956 in Chicago General Hospital. I don't know if that's what the name of it was. I do know that's what it was. They may have changed the name at this point. Right? But I ended up dying of old age. Right? And then showed up here. Now, when I talk about, and I guess we should get started on this aspect, so we might just as well. When I talk about reclaiming power over your life, the first thing you've got to come to the realization of is quite literally, you got to decide whether you're content with your life or not. Yeah, I've got an itchy ear. Welcome to the live recording. The first thing that you've got to... Now, what the heck is going on with my one monitor? It keeps blinking out on me. You've got to decide whether you're content with your life the way it is. Okay, now, for instance, when we take a look at that, understand we are taught from the get-go that we're supposed to fear death, fear change, fear everything across the board. Okay, and it doesn't seem to matter what religion we're following. It's taking place on your end as well. I have no idea what's going on. Because I'll tell you, my monitor is like the computer that I'm working on is working fine. This monitor over here is the one that's blinking. The other two that I've got up aren't blinking at all. And due to me having no clue what's going on technologically speaking, I have no way. That'd be my way of looking at it. That's going to be very distracting for a lot of people. And I can only say, I have no idea what's causing it because, like I said, the monitor that I'm working on, the laptop here, isn't blinking for me. And I've got a monitor up here and a monitor up here that aren't blinking. I'm going to try something really weird here because those aren't blinking. I'm going to see something a little bit weird. I'm going to move this. I have no idea why this would make any difference. But I just moved that. I moved that picture up onto this end. Okay. Like up onto the monitor up here, the one that wasn't blinking. Now, this is going to be really weird if it actually works. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. But, no, the first thing you have to look at where it comes to deciding whether or not your life is working right, take a look at your life. Take everybody out of the equation. This is just your perspective. If you're not content with the way your life is, then it is time to start changing it. But the real question people run into is how. So the first thing that I did, was this. And the most important one really was this little thing here. I keep that sign, obviously, I keep that one handy. That's in the office here. I've got another one that says the same thing, that says, I am worth it. I've got it on cardstock and laminated and hung on my freezer. Then I've got another one done in paper that is on my front door. I do not like that. Okay, you have to decide that you're worth the effort. Now remember, no matter who tells you that something has to change, that you've got to do things different, no matter who tells you that, the thought can be there, but until you get that heartfelt push, you're not going to, in all likelihood, get very far with doing anything with it. So that's the first thing that I look at. The second one is you have to realize that you're the only one in existence that's going to be able to change the way your life is going. Nobody else can be successful for you. There's not a soul, there is not an individual in existence. Okay. Some have stepped sideways and said, I'm just not doing it. But none of them are actually able to be successful for you. But we're taught that you're supposed to fear everything. Okay. Fear punishment, fear your God, fear everything around that. Okay. Greetings, Wallet Moth. Glad you made it. We're just really getting started about 2 minutes ago. Like I made the commitment a while back, I won't get really started until between 10 after and quarter after, just to give people a chance to get into the room. Now, if you've got questions, absolutely ask. Doesn't matter to me what topic. Okay, I've been doing this now. Well, I've been dealing with consulting for people for what? 23, so 37 years now. Professionally, as in generating an income from it. But I kept getting asked all the same questions. How do you change things? How do you get your life on track? So that's the first thing. Now, nope, that's still happening. So I'm guessing the internet is having a bit of a glitch. I think. Maybe it's YouTube having a glitch. I don't know. My one channel here is still, my one computer is still working fine. Everything is running smoothly. At least it seems to be. Don't need that there. Okay. So, I am not having fun with technology today, people. So, that's the first thing you look at. Now, you can read up on Feng Shui. Okay, but Feng Shui has a glitch. Its principle is absolutely on the money. Okay, the principle of Feng Shui is that you line all of your stuff up in a certain pattern. Now, I haven't read much in the way of the Eastern philosophy, just enough to know what works. Okay, in Eastern philosophy, they'll tell you, put your finances on the north wall or something, north wall and east wall. I don't honestly know. What I do know is it works well in their culture because their entire society is built for it. But the principle is still the same. So this whole desk here is where I do all my work. It's where I keep track of my finances, where I keep track of my drew a blank on that, where I keep track of my writing. Okay, this is all done right here. Now, of course, if you look, where are we here? Not over there. There we are. Over here right beside the filing cabinet. Those binders are the hard copy for the entire saga that I've written, the entire Yldrbacian saga. So from that standpoint, what I've turned around, what I've done is I went, okay, I've got the energy in here running properly. Okay, you can see I've got my painting desk down clear over here as well at this point. Okay, which means I can get into the figures and yes, I've got some of those here I'm still working on. I got to get back to that. But I had to get things turned around. So get the energy running around now. Right now, I've got the computer, all the electronics are set right here. I've got my petty cash down below me here. Right, I've got the computer, the phone, the printer. So all of this is the electronic side of it. Okay, and then I've got an extended keyboard here because the one on the laptop, my fingers won't register, not properly. And then I've got this neat little thing here, and this is the other one. Very critical factor. Okay, now we're talking household. Now, I've got a list here that says $3,800. And you literally, if you haven't done this, if you're having fun with your finances, the way that I found has worked beautifully. Start off by figuring out what your bill is, what your cost of running your house is. Okay, that's your rent or mortgage. In all fairness, it's the same thing. I've done other videos that revolve around that specifically. But essentially, your rent, your utilities, one credit card, your entertainment, your transportation, your insurance, a little bit for savings. Okay, figure out what it costs you to run your household. That's the first point. And then you take a sheet of paper and you literally, in your office where you work on your finances, you literally write down, we have legally acquired. Now, we is because you're talking about your household. And if there's more than one person making money, then we is easily applied. You can always, if you're single, you can always run that as I. We have legally acquired a minimum of $3,800 by July 31st, 2022. And we forgot to put the 1 man to midnight. That's terrible. At 1 man to midnight. Usually this says 23:59, but since my belt's on the other side of the room, okay. Now, do that for your own. For me, I started with 2,500. Okay, and every month that I broke that, I increased it a little more. I'm now up to 38. Okay, now this sounds way too simple. Okay, but the reality is it works. Okay, and the reason I say that with such definitive is because I use it. Okay, every one of the tools that I offer here are ones that if they apply to me personally, I will use. Okay. That's a bit of a conflict. I like the question there, Joe. And in a nutshell, and I got to be really careful about this. Okay, I've already had my hand slapped once by YouTube for putting things the wrong way. Now, flat out, law enforcement itself, the principle behind it, is absolutely on the money. And what I mean by that is karmic law says, do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. This translates into you must follow the laws of the land in which you are. However, where there is a glitch is if the people that are working in law enforcement, okay, are not following the laws, there will be a fracture point. Because when laws are made, they have, in order for them to work, they must apply to everybody. Okay, and they've got to apply to everybody equally. Sad to say, in modern society, that is seldom the case. Okay, one of the few laws that applies to everybody, that seems to apply to everybody, including, all the way from the poor to the wealthy, is by law in the US and in Canada, you have to drive on the right-hand side of the road. If you don't drive on the right-hand side of the road, then what ends up happening is, well, you get pulled over. Whether you've got $1 million in your pocket or a nickel and a half, it won't matter. Now, granted, there are all kinds of people that get away with things, okay, that they probably shouldn't. But the principle of law enforcement, I absolutely agree with. And I do personally commend the people that choose to go into that field to strive to protect their community, to strive to stand up for what they feel is right. Does the system have flaws? 100% it certainly does. But the principle is on the money. Okay, there's a lot of laws I do not agree with personally. Okay, but I follow them anyway. For instance, one very clear example, and understand, I get into my car, I put the seatbelt on. I absolutely do not agree with the law, and here's why. Okay, yeah, it saves lots of people. It saves all kinds of people from being hurt in accidents. Of course, in all fairness, if they were taught to drive properly, they wouldn't have that problem. Not as many anyway. But the fact is, when I was a child, actually before I was born, the seatbelt law wasn't out. And my older brother, had he been wearing his seatbelt when their car got T-boned, he'd have been dead because Mom could not have turned around and hauled him out of the way before the impact. Okay, but I absolutely, if there is a law there, absolutely, I encourage you to follow it, if for no other reason, and this is the big thing. I personally can't deal with the whole concept of vertical bar scene. Okay. Now, since that turned around oddly, we're going to put that back over there where I can read it, because it didn't seem to do any good. Pop that up so I can see what I'm reading. It's easier at this range. For me, law enforcement is pretty simple. That you're absolutely correct in that there, Denali. There is a scale, and it seems to be a sliding scale, but it's built backwards. There has to be a balance, and that's just it. The funny part about law enforcement is the principle behind it is right. You see, you're not going to make everybody happy. But if we don't have law enforcement, if we don't have a government in place, there is no way you could get these numbers of people living under one roof. Okay. Now, certainly there are people that go, oh, we should overthrow the government. I'm like, no, you shouldn't. You want to see the disaster that causes? Read Animal Farm. Okay. What has to happen is people, and I'm talking about the individual, has to realize that if we're going to turn society around, first of all, we have to reclaim power over our own life. Because the truth the truth as I have come to understand it is the society is only as strong as its weakest member. Okay. Now, you take a look at what you're not content with, and we've been told, you have to fear everything. Well, the silly part there is, fear change is difficult. It's painful. Any of you know anybody that is constantly writhing around in pain? And I mean on the floor, not able to function. Because every time somebody has a different thought, or hears something differently, or sees something different, every word that is uttered, if change was painful, they'd be writhing in pain. Okay. So we've got to realize, number one, change is not painful. Change is the only consistency in the universe. Okay, it's the only consistency in existence. So we take a look at that, and you go, okay, I'm not content with where my life is sitting. So change what you're doing with it. An obvious example, if I'm not happy with my pen in this hand, I just shift it over here. Okay, now it's in a different hand. I didn't scream. It didn't hurt. The other day I dropped my pen and I did scream. Of course, the other day I dropped my pen and instead of catching it right, it hit my leg, and then I stuck my hand onto it this way in a hurry. Sorry, it wasn't a pen, it was a pencil. But you do that, that's where you start. Now, one of the first books I wrote, right, was this one. This little book here, Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams. That is one of the first books I actually put to print. Okay. And what it points out is the backbone of how I turned my life around, how I took it from where I am from where I was to where I am. Now, up until this March, I was still living one paycheck away from living on the street. Baba Yaga, good morning. Nice to see you. Glad you can make it in. I wrote that book to really detail how I first got my life to start turning. Okay, now it takes a long time to get in the habit. Okay, and that's all it is. You develop bad habits over the years, and then you get to a point where you go, I'm not content. What do I do with it, and where do I start? Well, I'll tell you, where you start is the easy part. Okay, or rather, knowing where to start is the easy part. The first thing you do when you first wake up in the morning, okay, wait until your eyes focus. Okay, and then you throw yourself out of bed. If you want to lay there, tough. Wait till your eyes focus, and you go against that stubborn streak of yours, and you get up, go do what you have to in the washroom, come back, get yourself dressed, and get your bed made. Now, why the thing about making your bed? Well, let's face it. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, making my bed was an absolute annoyance. It was just one of those things I didn't desire to do. But the reason I say make your bed before you leave the bedroom is because what that does is it says, okay, there's a chore that I've got to get done. I don't like doing it, so I'm not going to put it off anymore. I'm going to make my bed. And it means before you even get out of the bedroom, you've accomplished the most annoying pain, well, I call it, and there's a lot of words I use for it, but it's the most annoying task that anybody gets taught, at least when they're kids. Okay. Now, I never did get to the point of making the corners crisp and being able to bounce a quarter off the bed. I never understood the purpose to it. Okay, but by doing that, you end up getting your life, so you start the day off that way. Now, this is why I say you have it. Now, I don't have the list written right now, but that's because, well, frankly, I put it off. You do realize I am very much a professional procrastinator. I used to have a problem with it. I'd put things off. The old saying, never do today what you can put off till tomorrow. I had it down to a much finer art. I went never do what you can put off. Right. I'm still pretty good at it. But I used to have to work at it. Now it just comes naturally. It's kind of like the concept of, I'm a professional procrastinator. I kept thinking of going to a support group for procrastinators, but they kept postponing it. So, you have to take a look at your own life and go, okay, if you're not content, you're the only one in existence that is going to be able to straighten it out, that's going to change you. Oh, that's the easy part, Wallet Moth. Number one, the only place you can order it right now is directly through me. Okay. Now, I've just got to think here. Where did I put it? Should have the information right in front of me, considering I was just working on it. Open that page up, or more to the point, flick to that page. There we go. And coming down here, well, go up there. Went the wrong way. Okay. Yeah, I can still do that. I know how much it's going to cost me. That particular book, Wallet Moth, you order it directly through me. Okay, I do take PayPal. And I've got a bunch of them in inventory already. So it literally boils down to, once the money goes through, I give myself a little bit of leeway and go within 2 or 3 business days, I've got the thing in the mail. Now, right now, and this is why I've got somebody building my website for me, where I will be in the near future be able to order all of these online. Okay, but for now, I'm the only place you can get them. But it details, and the nice part about this particular book, at least the way I look at it, is this. It's written it's not a big book. Okay. I think I forgot to tell you that, Wallet Moth. They're actually $20 shipping included, but $20 in your hand. And here's the neat little thing. I wrote the chapters so they're standalone. And what I did was I went, okay, here's the steps you've got to follow. Here's what you can normally expect from it. And here's why you don't want to do it in the first place. Because the way I figure it, most people, myself included, will talk yourself out of changing things because you're in a comfortable position. It may be a miserable position, but it's something you know. The old concept of better the devil you know than the one you don't. What did I do with it? Right there. Better than the one you know. Yeah. See, the funny thing there, Carl, is, and I think the U.S. has an interesting way of looking at it. You know, thank you so much, Carl. I appreciate that. You know, Carl's just said, I've read and understood, ready to hand it over to friends. You know, the reality is I've had it out for years. I just haven't done a lot of advertising with it. But the American military has a saying, the difficult things we're already doing, the impossible ones just take us a little longer. I'm living proof of what is possible and of impossible things being shoved sideways. Okay. You know, I've got, the thing is, I've got that one out. Okay. Another one that I wrote in the same fashion was this one. Believe in your business and follow your dreams. I have literally, and I'm just starting to push my own business. The funny thing is, like I said, I'm a professional procrastinator. So if these tools can work for me, I'm absolutely certain they'll work for you. You know, the important factor is you're the one that has to do the work. But I encourage you, if you're going to do something, when you set out to do it, talk to somebody that has successfully done it themselves. Now, I can tell you how to recover from bankruptcy. I can tell you how to make a dollar stretch. Okay, I cannot tell you effectively how to become a millionaire right now. Okay, and the reason I can't is because, well, I'm not a millionaire. Okay, I have helped millionaires make money. Okay, I have helped stock investors figure out how to, and here's a tip for those of you that are playing the stocks. Okay, absolutely. Now, I'm not a stockbroker. I don't play the stocks. I don't work with them at all, to be honest. But here's the funny thing I came across years ago. Absolutely do your research. I'm not going to recommend any stock at all, so don't even go there. Do your research. Get the portfolios and what have you on the stock that you're looking into. Absolutely look at the news releases. But here's where it goes sideways. When you're looking at the press releases and what have you, do not try and figure out. You'll be told in your studies, in all likelihood, at least I was, to try and gauge what the company is going to do with the information that gets out. That is not the key to making the money. The key to making the money work is getting engaged on how the rest of the potential investors are going to respond to that piece of news. That's what you're banking on. Is not what the company is thinking of doing, but what the investor is thinking the company is thinking on doing. Okay, so you take a look at whatever's not working for you. Move everything out of the equation. Alter the energy around it for whatever is not working for you and change it to something else. It doesn't matter what you change it to. You'll notice if I've got the pen in this hand and I'm not content with it, I can put it in this hand. If that still does not feel right, I can turn around and I can bite the thing. I do that a lot, not when I'm talking because it falls out. But when you make a change, you don't have to know it's a perfect change. See, the future is not written. The future is something that gets developed by your choices today. Now, you've got an opportunity you're sitting on right now, and everyone has exactly the same opportunity. You can live your life as is. Let's face it, in all fairness, it's not going to make a lot of difference to me. Whether you get your life in order or don't, you're the one that's going to have to deal with it. But you've got a choice to make. You can take a look at the way your life is. You can continue sitting with it. You can point your finger at everybody you choose. But the reality is you're the only one that can change it. Now, I listen to people. I used to be like everybody else. In as much as I go, the elites are causing the problem. The church is to blame. The politicians are causing the problem. It's everybody else. Okay, the reality is it isn't. Okay, I used to believe that. I used to believe the media was fanning the flames for all this. And I got told, well, the media puts out what people want. And I'm thinking, how could that possibly be? Then the internet hit. And I took a look at the internet, and I went, okay, you watch social media. It is not the major media that is posting so much. If you take a look at Facebook right now, I'm just shifting over to take a look at it here. What is that? I don't need that. There we go. I look at this, and you just scan down a little bit. And the sad part is you'll see different sponsored sites that go, these are videos that nobody, that the actors don't want you seeing. Well, ask yourself this. And this is where that karmic thing about do unto others as you desire them to do unto you comes in. Okay. Spooky, how we doing? Glad you made it. If you take a look at the social media, the general population now, I'm a firm believer that 95% of people are decent people, honestly striving to work with each other, striving to get ahead. And yet, there is so much garbage on the social media where people go, look who shot who killed who ripped who off, and here's pictures that these people don't want you seeing. So let's see if we can embarrass them. I don't even look at these things. Like, obviously I spot that they're there, but I don't pay any attention to them. So you have to take a look at the way, what you're posting, what you're liking. Are you promoting somebody being embarrassed? People will sit and spend hours watching people playing games. I can do the same thing with work. I can sit there, work fascinates me. I can watch it for hours. But I personally feel I'm lazy. Right now, I'm down to only writing 30 books at the same time. Chad, how you doing? Glad you made it. From my standpoint, it boils down to this. You desire your life to change, you're going to have to be the one to get up and do it. Now, I can tell you wholeheartedly, every tool I offer people is one that, if it applies to me personally, I'm using it. Okay. When I take a look, like, I write in 5 different genres. Okay. In science fiction, science fantasy, self-help, reference, children's, and poetry. Oh, thanks, Chad. Appreciate it. Managed to lick my finger, stick it in the light socket, did wonders for it. Also helps get you started in the morning. Nothing like a good old-fashioned shock to get your blood pumping. Be careful with that, though. It can backfire. But you take a look at the way your life is, and you go, okay, I'm not content, so I have to change something. Oh, I drink Folgers. The reality is it's the least expensive on the market. Well, no, that's not true, but it's the least expensive that I can drink. I think Edwards is actually cheaper, but I won't pay for it. I won't take it for free. I remember I was working for a company years ago, and the boss's wife used to buy the coffee, and she come in to work one day, and she looked at the coffee because her husband had bought the coffee, and she looks at the coffee and she goes, "Okay, who brought that?" Keith doesn't complain about anything at work except that specific brand of coffee. Now, why would somebody bring it in here? I'm pretty laid back about what I do. There are certain foods that I will turn down, okay, because, well, frankly, I don't like them. Yeah, I'm picky. I'm a firm believer that if it's moving, if it's not moving, it's usually fair game. But you take a look at where your life is. You're the one that's going to have to change it. The best tools in existence are absolutely useless if you do not pick them up. Okay. And I get so many people phoning me up and going, gee, I'm not happy with my life. what can I do? And I'll go, this is what you need to do. Well, I don't want to do that. And then they'll phone me back a couple of weeks later and go, my life's not changing. How come? I need this to happen. Why isn't it? It's like, did you do this? Did you take these steps? Well, no, but I don't like those steps. Well, if you're not going to change your life, your behavior, your life is not going to change. It's just that simple. You know, the reality of it is that you're the one in control. No matter who tells you other people control what's going on. When was the last time I sensed paranormal? About a minute and a half ago, up in the top corner here. For me, you know, in all fairness there, Joe, for me, that's just what you consider paranormal is what I consider normal. Okay, I gave up trying to sort out when things are a little different. My son is having a really wonderful time lately we've got a ghost that's decided that taking up residence in his bedroom is a really nice idea. So we've had a couple of conversations with him now, and he seems to be calming down. You know, the funny thing is, people call it paranormal. What it is it's misunderstood or incompletely understood normal. You know, this is why with this particular book, people have asked me how many, you know, where I get this information. Well, I mean, I've questioned that myself because you got to remember, okay, I am a science fiction, science fantasy writer. Okay, so the question is, where are these races coming from? Well, given the number of people I've spoken to over the years, okay, nice. Don't ask me to sing that, Chad. I remember the jingle, sort of. But no, people have asked me where I get the information. Well, for me, it's firsthand. It's because some of my friends, as a matter of fact, this one here, I'm going to show you something here. Nice thing about a live recording, we get a little sidetracked on occasion. But I've mentioned, if you've been listening to the ET Connection on Spaced Out Radio, you've heard me talking about a Strazazian. Well, that in the book, The Races of the Worlds, gives you the clinical side of what's going on. Okay, but if you take a look at this book, this is the second one in the Yldrbacian Chronicles. Okay, now here is the character. This is Jeremiah Wollstrand, 5'8". This is Kulak. This guy here, this great big reptilian here, that is a Strazazian. Okay, now this will give you an idea of why you have to look up to these people. Okay. So it really boils down. So what happened is this. I wrote the Races of the Worlds, and I am in the process of getting the artwork done for it. Still trying to get it finished. I wrote that, but it was simply a reference manual. Okay. When we take a look at the Yldrbacian Chronicles, inside that I cover a lot of the races. You know, there are a lot of races that you'll run into that are listed in the Races of the Worlds that give you the emotional and the personality side of the different races. And here's the thing. When we're looking at changing your life, the first thing you have to realize, have to accept, is that it is possible to do so. Okay, that's the first thing. Now, I've done a subset of videos as well called language, in which I detail certain language, certain words in any language, okay, that are self-debilitating. Can't, impossible, try, want, need, impossible, always, never, and, you know, I'm thinking, I know I'm missing one. I've identified 9 already. Now, you know, the funny thing there, Wallet Moth, is I've never gone to a hospital to double check it. Okay. And therefore, can I tell you for certain? Well, technically, I probably could, but I don't have any clinical proof. And the reality is, there is no functional difference between hybrids and normal people. Okay, hybrids and purebreds. They're all still the same. Okay. The reality of it from my standpoint is this. Okay. People are finding new and exciting ways to separate each other. I mean, the most brilliant maneuver anybody came up with, they start off, and I'm not going into this in detail, but I will tell you, the bottom line is this. People are finding new and exciting ways of going, I don't like the way that feels, so I'm going to call myself a new gender. Or I'm going to say, that doesn't fit me. I identify as this. It seems to be the new catchphrase. Okay. I heard of a group of people that is growing in number, apparently. They call themselves, they are, what are they called now? Transables. Because they don't identify as normal people, they identify as handicapped. So they're literally crippling themselves to become handicapped. Okay. Let's see. See, I have a habit where it comes to moving into places, where it comes to the haunted ones, I keep inviting the spirits. It's like, look, if you need a place to hang out, here's the rules of the house. Don't break the rules of the house, and you're more than welcome. Right. So, and yes, in all fairness, one of the rules of the house is stay the heck out of my bathroom. Okay. You don't need to use it, so stay out of it. But the miscalculation most people run into where it comes to the haunting side of things. Okay, and by the way, this issue of how to change your life applies to the dead. It applies to every race I've run into. Okay, the neat part about it. A lot of people have deleted Facebook. I use it for one reason. Okay, I'm not big on change. And it is a way to reach a whole pile of people. And in all fairness, there is a staggering number of people that do require guidance. And that's where they hang out right now. Yeah, in all fairness, it really is. But it's like I told my other half. Because she's talking about moving up here into my home. And like I told her, I said, that ain't the way this works. You move in here, it's our home. It is not mine. Right. It was sad because of the way things go. I take a look at my life and go, I'm not content with certain aspects of it. So thus far, I've got the energy in the house running properly. I just uploaded all the pictures for the different books I've got available. Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. Facebook does create a certain amount of anonymity. I'm about to cancel my landline because I've got one person that phones me on that's worth anything, and everybody is a scam. Everybody else that phones that line for me is nothing but scam artists. Okay, I frankly don't remember my landline number. Yeah, well, that's just it, Charlene. The small business works. Now, this is what's called giving you an opportunity for a plug here. Curiosity, what is a small business that you actually run? You don't have to say if you don't want to, but I will tell you this. As a business owner, take any opportunity you get. The thing is, when I say in the journey, when I say that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody, I literally mean that. See, I don't even know how WhatsApp works. Like Wallet Moth is just saying he uses WhatsApp. I don't, I use LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, And that's pretty much where it ends. Okay, and when people are trying to contact me, just to be clear, I don't have a problem with people contacting me, but I don't do much if I can't see them. You know, there are many big companies that aren't set up that way, but I have found out one thing. If you desire your life to change, you do realize, Wallet Moth, just a point in fact, yeah, it's encrypted, but I'll guarantee it's not secure. They'll tell you it is, okay, but back in the 70s, I was telling people, back in the 70s, I was telling people, when you walk into a government office, they can tell you not only how much money you've got in your pocket, but how much of each denomination. Now, I was told I was nuts until the early 2000s or the late 90s, when either W5 or 60 Minutes came out and did a report that explained exactly how they were doing it. Okay, so don't get me wrong. Oh, thank you very much, Carl. As soon as I get off the video, as soon as I get done this, actually, in all fairness, I can do it this way. Neat thing about being able to multitask at the same time, in a sense, if I can get my computer to work right, is I can go in here and I just go into, because I've got 4 screens on here, it makes it real easy. Okay. And no, I'm not going to tell you what my password is. I know what it is, but that works. And just go on board here. And we see what we got going on. Okay. There we go. Perfect. And Carl, right, this is how quick it works. Okay. I have, where is it? I gotta stand up here because I can't reach what I need. But not over there. Right there. Like I said. Right on. This is why I say I've got these things in stock. Whoops. I need. Where is it? Oh. That just about came out wrong. So I walk over there to the other side of the room. It's amazing. I actually found a pen where I wanted it. But that's how quick it goes. Okay. And I hope it sent what I required there. We take a look at that. This is what's called getting a little sidetracked in a sense. Okay, perfect. Now, just open this up because every one of the books I send out, I do make absolutely certain that I sign them to start with. And Carl, thank you so much for the order. Signed and ready to go. Well, just about ready to go. I'm not going to do the address for it right this minute. But as soon as I'm done the video, as soon as I go offline here, I will get that into an envelope and then get it sent. And then I'll drop you a quick note that, did you include? Probably not. I will leave a note that it is on its way. Okay. If I've got your email, that's great. I'll leave a note there to let you know as soon as I send it out. So from that standpoint, the nice little part about it, every one of my books that I've got listed, I've actually got a stockpile of them. Okay. I don't have a lot of them, but then I'm just a small business at this point. But my printer is right down the road. Okay. So as soon as I start running low, I just go down and ask, and she pumps out a bunch more. The other nice little part with Races of the Worlds, as I've told people before, if you have a copy of it, in this case, Carl, you've got this one. When I get the second printing out, which will include the pictures in it as well, that's what's taking the time. I'm adding some information to it, but if you've already bought a book, I've already decided the people that have already got the book, I'm going to send out the new one to you without a cost to you and just ship it to you with the pictures included. Right now, it doesn't have them, but I'm working on them. And I figure when I decided I was getting the pictures done, that it was only right, if you've already bought the book, that piece of information is kind of a necessity. Let's go back over to where we were here. Okay. Yeah, while I'm off, the reality is I won't leave my bedroom without them on. I mean, quite frankly, from my standpoint, it's sort of a question of, be dressed, especially if you're coming on live video. There are times when my hair will be somewhere else. I mean, it's not like it comes out, but it may be messed up. But it's like I tell people, most people worry about their hair because, they're concerned with what other people think. Even when my other half finally gets moved up here and I manage to marry her, assuming she says yes, I still won't have to worry about what my hair looks like. Not really. I mean, the reality of it is she's blinder than a bat. Okay. And like I said, I don't see any difference in people. Whether you've got money, whether you're a millionaire, it doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is how people treat each other. And people are spending so much time finding new ways to separate themselves. And, I don't identify like that, so I'm something else. Well, thank you. My virus scanner just came up and says, oh, your IP address is exposed. Probably. Of course, the way I figure it, when I found out that Donald Trump, before he became a president, had a dossier on me, and the CIA showed up on my doorstep looking for me by name for the information I had on the off-worlders, I gave up at that point and went, if people want to find me, they know where they can. Okay. But for you to change your life, it really boils down to decide what you're not content with and start working to eliminate everything that is not contributing to what you're content with. If you're not happy with your outlet, with the state of your house, and you don't have the energy to do it, get up and do it one piece at a time, or bring somebody in to do it. Okay. I mean, the reality is nobody is able to do everything. Okay. For me, I can write. Like I told the people setting up my website, I don't have a question on whether or not I can write. Okay. I have a question on how do I market. Now, because of that, I figured out a few things, and I'm learning one step at a time. My goal in the long run, is going to be like the big picture long run. Eventually, when I've got the money to do it, I'm going to build an active recovery center, one where people actually learn how to heal combining all techniques, whether it's medical, spiritual, educational, holistic, metaphysical. It doesn't matter. They're all methods. They're all part and parcel of the same thing. Okay. I do appreciate that, Carl. I will get to it. Okay. By reaching out to the people around you, okay, there is nothing wrong with asking for help. And this is where most people run into a snag. Okay. But if you're going to change your life, you're going to have to do a little bit of research. You're going to have to push your limits in all likelihood. I am reclusive by force of habit. I don't know if it's by nature, but I got so fed up with the stupidity and with the bullying I went through as a kid, I pulled away from people. Okay. And, I always thought that people pulled away from me, and then I ended up writing a channeled autobiography. And no, that's not going into print anytime soon. It is one of the books that will eventually go there. But the ones I'm most interested in that I'm really focusing right now on are the next one in the Yldrbac Chronicles, the second printing of Races of the Worlds. I was working on Mr. Dreamcatcher Returns, but it's come out now. So it's been checked off my list. But you pick a project, and even if somebody has told you you're not good enough, okay, you can't paint well enough to make a living at it. You know, you can't sing well enough to make a living at it. Now, there are artists out there, I'm listening to them, I listen to them, and you're going, I can scream like that. I did that just the other day. I stubbed my toe. Okay. There are 7.9 billion people. Actually, I think if I recall the number a little more accurately, there are roughly 7.96 billion people on the planet right now. Okay. Excellent, Charlene. Now the neat little point for you with that. Okay, a couple of things, and this is one of the biggest factors to make your business grow. Okay, where did I put that fine little sheet? Right there. Yes, I'm absent-minded. Okay. My mind's absent. I don't mind it. Anyway, okay, this upper thing is for your household. When you have a business, okay, in my case, Inner Voice Enterprises, okay, has legally generated a minimum of $700 by July 31st, 2022. Now, that should say by 1 minute to midnight on July 31st. I'll correct that when I get up. I should have grabbed the pen. But this 700 that I put here is inside the 38. Okay, that way, when you're working with it, you're constantly bringing it up. And the thing to remember when it comes to your bank account, mark down whatever it is. And quite frankly, yes, we're on the 15th, but mark down, take a look at your bank account and record what that balance is. On the first of the month, look at the new balance. If it is 1 penny higher than what it was, it's growing and you're on the right track. Okay, the thing we have to remember about the material world, and the Egyptians had it all backwards. They had the same idea that mankind seems to have now. They learned a lot. Here we are 5,000 years later, and people are still doing the same, well, frankly, stupid thing. They know better. Okay. People back in ancient Egypt had this brilliant idea. Oh, we've got all this stuff with us, so we'll take it with us, and they put it in their tombs, in their graves with them, so that when they came out on the other side, they'd have their material stuff with them. Bad news. These were the wealthiest people. The pharaohs were the wealthiest people of the nation at the time. They buried all their stuff with them, going, I'm taking it with me into the next world. Well, we can tell that worked really well because they died and their stuff is still here. Your stuff is going to have the same situation. Now, I remember one situation. I remember one situation where this woman had been married to a guy that was absolutely he was an abusive skinflint. He would not buy anything. Quite frankly, he was so bad. How bad was he? He was so bad that he forced her to wash their paper towel and hang it up to dry. Well, when he died, he was even so stingy that he insisted, he wrote right in his will, that all of his money was to be buried with him. So, in the long and the short of it, when they did the funeral, the woman walks up and she threw a piece of paper into the coffin, and her lawyer comes up and goes, "What are you doing?" She goes, "I'm burying his money with him." And he goes, "That's not his money. He wants all his money." She picks up the thing and she looks at the check and she goes, "Is this not legal tender?" And he goes, "Absolutely." He says, and she goes, "If you take that to the bank, then it's legal. That means it's money." He goes, "Well, Yeah. So she throws it in, she drops it, she leaves it there, and she goes, then I'm burying his money with him. And if he wants it, he can cash a check when he gets up. Yeah, my body. Charlene, I tried carpet cleaning when I was a lot younger, and what I found was the vibration in the cleaner swelled my hand up so bad that I couldn't close my fingers. So I figured that was a bad job for me. But I do apply, like my ex-wife, like you, her body's starting to wear out. But she still she does room cleaning she works in a retirement center. And the thing is, as we get older, we're told you're going to get weaker, your body's going to break down. I'm telling you, that's what you're told. I agree with that wholeheartedly. That's what you're told. But here's the thing. 15 years ago, if I held my glasses right there, I couldn't physically see them. Okay. 15 years ago, I am now in better shape than I was 15 years ago. My weight's come down, my blood pressure's down where it belongs. The acid level in my system's still a bit of a butcher job. But you're told you get weaker as you get older. And if you continue to buy into that, you will continue to do so. Now, do understand it requires effort to keep your body moving. Okay. Now, I used to be, like I said, 246 pounds was the worst I got. And I went, no way am I breaking 250. Okay, so I worked at it. And I'm back down 203.8 this morning. I went back up a little, and I'm having trouble breaking that 200 mark. But I'm bound and determined I'm going to break it before I go to my 40-year class reunion. The reality is there's all kinds of people, that when you're looking at it, I get a kick out of it. Wallet Moth, you're targeting the high-end people, which they absolutely need help. If there's one thing I found, the more money people have, the less adept they are at adjusting. This is why, if you ever notice, when there is a recession, the people that are poor, the working poor, seldom notice that there's a recession because, frankly, they're already struggling. But I had a client that had her husband had a bonus check of $100,000 a year. They couldn't make ends meet. Okay, and I'm looking at them going like, how can't you? Just cut down to 5 holidays, you'll be fine. Oh, I can't cut down to 5 holidays, I need them. Have you considered taking them together? And this went back and forth. The reality is, yes, money is necessary, but money is not the root of all evil. Okay. Now, if you're working at dealing with clients, if you're working at changing your life, you're the one that's going to have to do it. Get all the insight you can from everybody possible. But I will tell you, having been bankrupt twice myself, okay, I don't blame you there, Wallet Moth. Yeah, don't do cheap. Be a perfectionist. If there's one thing I find with the bigger companies lose that aspect. They lose the idea. Yes, money is a tool for your toolbox. The funny thing there, Denali, is people have told me money is the root of all evil. I'm thinking like, personally, I take a look at money and go, it's easier for me to move a $10 bill than it is for me to drag a cow around an apartment building. So I figure the money works nicely. The reality of it is when you realize that all you have in life is your word. It's the one thing that nobody can take from you. They can coerce you into giving it. They can threaten you, which is a harsher form of coercion. Okay. They can trick you into giving it, but they cannot take it. Okay, it's the only thing in existence they cannot take. You have to give it. I remember being held up at gunpoint, and the guy held a gun on me, and he goes, "Give me your wallet." I looked at him, and I went, "What? You going to kill me again?" And he stops cold. He goes, "Again?" I said, "Yeah, it's been done before. It didn't take." You have to take a look at two major factors. One, are you going to live in the past? Everything you've done up until this point has brought you to where you are. In this, we are all the same. No matter where you come from, where you are right now is a culmination of everything you've done in the past. Everything that you have gone through has created what your world looks like now. Now, the first 56 years of my life, I spent as a professional pack rat. And, there was a time when that wall there, you would have seen nothing of the white wall. Not a thing of it. And these shelves, you'd never seen the white wall behind them. Okay. I got to a point where I went, nope, not living like that anymore. I'm getting rid of it. But I made the decision that I didn't desire it here anymore. Okay. I will, over the next little while, upgrade my wardrobe, but that's because I'm choosing to. And if you think you're ever going to see me in a tie, there's no problem there. If you want to see me wearing a tie, I got a suggestion. Figure out how to put a tie on your screen so that you can see one around me. Okay, because I'm not wearing one. I have this thing about ties around my neck. Figure if somebody wants to put the tie on me after I'm dead, go ahead. I got told by one businessman that if you're going to work with big business, you have to be dressed in a suit. I looked at him and I said, bearing in mind, I'm a working psychic. I'm a working consultant. I said, if they're going to worry about what I'm wearing, then they're not interested in what I'm saying. Okay. Yeah, I do agree that clothing will have an effect on the way people treat you. Okay. But here's the neat little kicker to it. If, as the saying goes, if clothing makes the person, then does it not stand to reason that everybody in the military would behave in exactly the same fashion, as in everybody at the same rank would behave in exactly the same fashion? Everybody that was going to a private school where they have to wear a uniform, if clothing made the person, does it not stand to reason that everybody would behave? In all fairness, Charlene, I found, now I don't know what your work schedule works like, but for me, I find if you can actually work 4 days a week and get 3 days off every week, that you're doing good. That you're in a good situation. One thing I will recommend, if you're not already doing it, pick 2 days of the week. Doesn't matter which two, but pick 2 that are back to back that you do not work. And that means you don't answer the phone, you don't deal with it, period. I realize you're a small business. Okay, I understand that. But you pick 2 days that you don't work. And those are your days to relax. People tell me, you're starting a small business, you've got to be open for the customer. You take a look at companies like Sears and Roebuck, at the start, the way that we have to go back because modern business seems to think we got to be open all the time, unless you go to the post office. Okay, then the people will come. If you go, this is the hours I'm open, that's when you deal with it. Now, because I run my own business and I'm working for somebody else, I take very few days off. I do take time off because I'm also a gamer. I play Dungeons and Dragons. I have said on Thursday nights and on Sunday days, you're not going to find me. Okay, if I answer the phone, it's a luck of the draw for you. But I will tell you the other thing that I refuse to do, on the whole, I don't answer phone calls that don't come in with a name. You know, if it says unknown number or unknown caller, it's like, then you don't want to talk to me. Okay, I will talk to people. And for those of you listening, if you really want to sit down with me personally, I don't have a problem. I only have 3 video systems. I know how they work: LinkedIn, Skype, and Yahoo Messenger. Okay. So, I mean, I work with those. And that's pretty much it. Oh, my apologies. And I think this is tied to Yahoo. I work with FaceTime. I don't have a clue how WhatsApp works. I think it's on my phone, but, well, there's a lot of things that are probably on my phone. But you pay the one thing that is absolutely imperative is when I talk about business, understand if you're a homeowner, if you are just a homemaker. Okay, I talked to somebody and it's like, what does your wife do? Oh, she doesn't work. She just stays at home and takes care of our 4 boys. I looked at the guy. He had phoned me up because he was having trouble. Understand, running a house is just literally, it is the same as running a business. Okay, it requires the same forethought, the same planning. And when you do that, okay, if you look at the house as a business, the house being the physical construct in which you live, your home is the feeling of it. But whether you're running a business or you're running an actual and just running your house, I don't like the term just, but you get the idea. Either way, you still have to have your finances in order. You've got to have all your stuff up to date. Now, here's the thing. When you're looking at what order to pay bills in, it is absolutely critical that 2 bills get paid first. Okay. You've got to get your rent or your mortgage paid, and you've got to have the power paid. Okay. But I will caution you, the first thing I pay anybody, I always take 1% off the top of my bill. I shouldn't say always. Should leave it with that. But you take 1% off the top of your check. Okay. If you run your own business, this applies to what comes in for the business. Take 1% off the top of your check. Put that in your pocket. That is mad money. That's the money you use to go out for coffee, to go out and grab a bite to eat. It's that $1 out of every complete 100. So if you have earned only $99, you don't get any. Okay, there's no mad money there. Okay, I would still strongly recommend you take $1 anyway. But if you've got $100, you take $1. If you've got $199, you're still only taking $1. If you've made $200 in a paycheck, that's $2. That's the break point. Okay. And in all fairness, below 99, take the dollar anyway. Because what it does is it changes, it literally changes the feel of the money coming in from I'm working to pay my bills to I'm working and paying my bills. Okay. By doing that, now I love the people that tell me my power's behind and my cable's behind. I got to get my cable paid because I cannot miss my show. And I look at them and go, what about your power? Oh, well, I'll pay that next month. And I'm thinking there, and I usually give them that kind of look. It's like, you do know if you don't pay your power, that cable is useless. Right? And this is why you have to think things through. There's an old saying that goes, yeah, I have no doubt about that, Wall of Moth. I make a little more than $100 a month too. Like I said, I require $2,500 to run my household. Okay, but last month I pulled in just barely over 37. So I get a little bit of room, and the way this has worked, to give you an idea, I went from living one paycheck away from living on the street to now having 3 months rent and 3 months living expenses in the bank. Okay, where if I don't do another day's work, I've got the money coming in. Okay. The trick from my standpoint is this. The money's required to live in today's world, like it or not. Okay, but we have to realize that money does not make the person. Well, that's the funny thing. Now, here's a question for you, Wallet Moth. What is, bar none, the number one advertising method in the world? It's the number one best advertising method, bar none. Do you have any idea what that is? That actually applies to anybody. And that, yeah. The funny thing there, you're in a customer, absolutely, Wallet Moth. Okay, here's an odd question for you. Do you know of any company that actually pays word of mouth advertising? And there are companies that pay a referral fee. Like, for instance, your real estate agents usually pay some sort of referral fee. But do you know of anybody that actually pays word of mouth? Okay. It's every other type of advertisement you pay through the nose for. And I'm bringing this up for a very important reason from my standpoint. Okay. See, I've told people I will not donate to charity. I believe wholeheartedly in charity, but that is, when I talk about charity, I do agree with this idea of 10%, but that's 10% of your net profit, meaning once your necessary living expenses are covered. For instance, for me, it costs $2,500. So, of whatever comes in above 25, okay, of whatever comes in above 2,500, I take 10% of that, and I will either buy somebody dinner, I'll put groceries on somebody's plate. I will not give it into a registered charity, except, as it turns out, the food bank or the SPCA regarding food. Okay, those are people that require it, and then it's just food. It will not be cash. People, on the other hand, I will donate directly. I will spend the money directly on them. Now, that is absolutely, you're absolutely on the money, Denali. Now, here's the neat thing. The reason I brought that question up of word of mouth advertising and how to pay for it. Okay, and I've only just started doing this because I'm finally at a point where I can. Okay, I figured I woke up one day I actually woke up with a algorithm in my head, and I wrote it down. Okay, and I'm not going to go into the great details of it, but it worked out so well. I took it to a computer programmer, and I said, "Look, this doesn't make sense. This is way too simple." I says, "Find me the flaw." So I turned around, and he did it. He looked at it, and he come back to me 2 days later, and he goes, "Keith, there is no flaw in this algorithm." Now, I knew full well there was a flaw. Okay, I could feel it. So I took it to a mathematician. I will tell you, they are some weird people. Okay, they think in mathematical terms. So I went to him and I said, "Find me the flaw. There is a flaw here. I know it. What is it?" He comes back to me less than 12 hours later and he goes, "The algorithm is absolutely perfect." Now, am I planning on selling the algorithm? No. Okay, but I did develop one that covers word of mouth advertising, where I can actually track where word of mouth comes from. I found the flaw. Okay, absolutely found the flaw in it. And I'm setting up the paperwork now to be able to do it. I did it a long time ago. Okay, but I found a flaw whereby word of mouth advertising will work. I've had to put some stipulations in for my own sake, not in order to cover the expenses. Because understand, when you take a look at profit, okay, money comes in, there's a certain amount, you have to do a markup because nobody goes into business not to make money. And this is why I absolutely Okay. I absolutely turn around and go, if you're going into a non-profit business, I'll tell you, I will never open a non-profit business because the reason for that is, to me, I'm going in for non-profit. I'll guarantee those companies are making a profit. Okay. So I'll tell people right out, I do this because I'm aiming at earning a living. Okay. But I figured out how to pay for word of mouth advertising. Here's the backbone to it. Like in your case, Carl. Okay, you've just picked up a book. I'll be adding your name into the database. Okay, so I will have that there. If somebody comes to me and says, Carl put me in touch with this, okay, and this is where word of mouth works. If you go out someplace and you get good service, the average is you're going to tell 2 people that you got good service. Okay, you get bad service, you're going to tell 10. And that's an industry average. It's not something I've actually done the research on, but this is an industry, a global average, it seems. However, if you're turning around and sending them a check, not a voucher, not something that says, buy more of my product. Here's money, do with it what you will. If you turn around and you're getting a check from that company that you got good service from or a good product from, they're going to be that much happier, and they're going to spread the word a little bit more readily. Okay. And therefore you get better spread. If you give bad service and you still send them a check for a little bit for their word of mouth, then what happens is they go, yeah, I got lousy service. I had a bad experience, but I still ended up getting a check. Okay. Now, I worked it out, and at the top end of this whole system, I lose 20% of my net profit in order to pass this on. So, am I putting it am I implementing it effective immediately? The answer is yes. Hence why I brought it up here. Okay, because the way I figure it, like, let's say, Carl, you tell a couple of friends, I got this. This is what I'm happy with. So here's where to get it. And they turn around and buy it. Okay. Now that may be the last you ever hear of them. Okay, but the way the system is set up, the way I figured out this advertising thing is this. Those 2 people go out and they do the same thing. And let's go 6 months, 7 months down the road. And I'm getting orders from people I'm getting orders from 8-10 people that are directly tied to the 2 that you talk to. That all comes back in the algorithm I set up, where I can go, okay, this is how much money came in. And therefore, Carl, here you go. Thanks so much. Now, here's the kicker. I'm going to pull this off, and in 3 months, Carl gets to figure out whether or not what I was talking about implementing actually worked. One of the things I found with recording the journey is it's helped me keep really focused on the things that matter to me. Okay. I do so. While I'm off, if you look on Facebook, look for Inner Voice Enterprises. Okay, that's my business page. Or you can look for Yldrbac. Okay, they're both connected directly to my page. Yldrbac is regarding the Chronicles itself. And about a month and a half ago, I finally said, no, I've had enough. I have to push and start making this business work. Because sooner or later, I'm not going to be working for the company I'm working for. Lord knows that'll happen sooner or later. I mean, I'm 59 now. I've been working for the same company for 22 years. So I'm not looking at retiring just yet. I'm only just getting a website built for the Yldrbac Chronicles and for the rest of my writing. I will eventually get one done professionally for the business as well. But I've run into so many people that claim to be able to do it. Do I trust people? Not at all. Okay. Do I put a lot of weight in behind money? No. I'll go out and spend money without even thinking about it. Last month was really bad in a way of money. Ended up with a lousy credit rating, in my eyes. I ended up buying a new car and paying for a holiday to go to my 40th grad reunion. Okay, so this is what you can do. Now, I've been doing this. I've taken myself from this bottom end, from this on the verge of living on the street, to bankruptcies, to the point where I am now capable of not only getting the material stuff I desire, not just what I have to live on. I hate cooking, so I spend way too much money, or I was spending way too much money at the restaurant. But the reality of it from that standpoint is I take a look at it and go, this is what I can afford. And one of the books I'm working on reworking, there's a couple of books that was good. A couple of important books that I'm actually in the process of fleshing out. Like I'm writing 30 at once. I think it's 30. I just tied one off, so it's probably 30. Okay, but the ones I'm really working on are, number one, a book that literally tells you what the formula, and when I'm talking about a formula for success, I'm talking about one that applies to everybody. Okay, this little book here, Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams, that's the backbone of turning your life around. Okay, it's tools that I personally use. And has it become a bestseller? No, but it's a little hard to become a bestseller if you don't have a clue how to market. Okay. Now, I told myself for years I didn't know how to market. And yet, I turned around and took a small cottage business and guided the person by telling them what was necessary. I took them from a cottage industry to an intercontinental. Okay. I took a cleaning lady. I gave her a couple of tools to work with. Now, I did this locally. I walked into her shop, laid out some changes, and I took her from on the verge of closing the doors to retiring 7 years later. Now, the thing is, all the tools in the world are absolutely useless if you don't use them. Thank you so much, Wallet Moth. I really do appreciate it. You know, the fact is, if you desire your life to change, you're going to have to go, I'm no longer content sitting, waiting for somebody to come and fix it. Okay. If you're waiting for, let's go the real big end. Let's wait for God to come down and straighten it out. Ain't going to happen. He gave you free will and freedom of choice to do your own to do your own thing. Up to you to take care of it. Here's a joke. The government's here to help. Okay. Hate to tell you this, but if that were the case, the government wouldn't be doing things the way they are. Now, this said, we have to have a government in place. It is absolutely critical. This stupidity that people talk about, we should overthrow the government. Have you got a better idea on how to run it? If you do, get into politics and change it from inside. Overthrowing governments, all that does is causes a lot of lost life, a lot of panic, a lot of problems. And then we end up going back and having the same problem all over again, as evidenced by the collapse of the Egyptian Empire, the collapse of the Roman Empire, the collapse of the monarchies. Okay, that all worked well because people didn't like it, so they overthrew it. And then look what we ended up with. Understand, you desire your life to change. You're going to have to do the work. Now, absolutely, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. Okay, whether you're in the industry of running your own household, where do you start to get rid of the clutter? Well, start wherever you're sitting. Okay, if you look back at my old videos, you'll see a whole pile of clutter around this office only. And the rest of my house looks worse than this does, by the way. But I'm now in the process of streamlining everything and getting it out of the way. Getting it moving where I desire it, which is why things are within reach. Now, there's such a thing as having things within too easy of reach. Okay. But here's one of the ones I just loved. Now, I hit a certain weight. I hit 246 and went, I'm not happy. Okay. society talks about the lack of health, about the declining health of people. So what did the medical society come up with? Okay, we got all these people that are way overweight, and it's not declining. What we're doing isn't working. So let's solve the problem. We will change that. And instead of saying, okay, you're overweight, we're going to go, if you're 500 pounds or more overweight, you're no longer obese. You're now morbidly obese. Remarkably, there was a sudden decline in the number of people listed as obese. Fabulous mark. Look, our number of obese people dropped. Certainly it did. Because the moment they did that, about 15 years ago, I think, okay, the moment they did that, they had 2 million people on the morbidly obese level. Okay, now for people that have a legitimate, I call it legitimate. Okay, when your medical, and I don't mean your mental state, I mean your physical state is causing a problem, you don't have a way around it, usually. Like, quite often it's a problem. The mental one is harder to deal with, but can be dealt with, usually. Okay, now, am I going to tell everybody, oh, I know the way to lose weight for everybody? Not a snowball's prayer. I have not studied medicine. I have not studied any of the nutritional side. My idea of decent nutrition is, if it ain't moving and if it's palatable, I'll work with it. Just reading this, Wallet Moth has just asked, I started meditation the other day, and my third eye kept collapsing every time it opened. I saw eyes looking at me. Not all human either. And then it collapsed again. You're on the path. Okay. What's happening is, when you get into a meditative state, okay, when you get into a meditative state, you're opening your mind to see a lot more out there. And humans are not the only races, which is why you're seeing eyes that aren't all human. Okay. So is that the right way to go? The answer is yes. And it will become, the eyes will stay open. Your third eye will stay open longer and longer. Okay. Eventually it gets to the point where it did with me, where it just doesn't close. Okay. And Denali, you're absolutely right. Denali has just added, metaphysically speaking, excessive weight is like a protective jacket for safety. If you keep a society in fear, they will add to their protective jacket. Absolutely. The same applies for hoarding and pancreatitis. I don't know if they call it pancreatitis, but I did. Okay. The physical weight protects you from close contact. Okay. And many people that have gone through abuse will put on weight as a way to keep people away. Okay. People that hold on to stuff. Okay. Pack rats and hoarders. And to my way of thinking, the only difference between a pack rat and a hoarder, a pack rat keeps everything they can. A hoarder doesn't even throw away garbage. Banana peels. I heard of one horrible state where a hoarder, after they died, when they went in to clean out the place, not only did they find the person dead in there, but they found 7 cats that had passed away in that mess. Okay. So, the issue of the physical weight is usually because of some form of abuse. In my case, I had a lot of training. Every member of my bloodline, starting with my grandfather born in 1902, was a pack rat. And all of them still are. I'm the first one that's actually broken that mold. Okay, but bear in mind, I took 56 years to get the collection I've got. It doesn't just go away overnight. Okay, but what I found was, the more clutter I had around me, because, like I said, I've not liked being around people for years. I've been reclusive for literally most of my life. Okay, but it got really bad about 10 years ago. And what I found happened was everything, I just kept adding stuff to it because I didn't want people coming in and seeing that amount of clutter. Okay. Absolutely it is, Denali. The basic way that I learned it, she's just said the house is representative of our close relationships. I took that, I ended up finding out something interesting. The state of your primary living space and or your primary workspace is a reflection of your mind. With that in mind, your mind is also a reflection of your primary working or primary living space, depending which one you spend more time in. Now, here's the kicker to it. It's easier, and you can argue the point if you'd like, or if you can convince me, that's even better. It is easier to change the state of the physical area around you than it is to change the way you're looking at the world. Okay, but you start clearing the clutter out, and all of a sudden, you'll find that things start to move more readily. And one of the key factors, if you take a look at your office, wherever you work on your finances, okay, you absolutely, Denali. The neat part about it, Denali is just saying money and programming. They called the idiot box, they named it beautifully when they call them programs, because they teach people to absolutely, that is correct. See, money itself, I get a kick out of it. Money's the root of all evil. So you go to these religious communities and they go, money is evil, so give us all your money and then you can get into heaven. What do they want the money for if it's the root of all evil? And for that matter, what are they doing with it? Because they're certainly not taking care of the poor and the sick. Okay, but when you start putting clutter around you, you'll block the energy flow. And I tell you, you don't have to believe me. Just take your area, start tidying the clutter out of it. And I don't mean throw away everything that you have, because there's some people that just have problems with that. But I'm talking about organizing it. Like right now on you can't see it with this video, but my floor itself in the office here, I don't have a problem with it. Okay, I've still got stuff on the shelves, but at least I can walk through. If you look at the hallway, when we take a look at it, you start with the idea that wherever you're working on your money, that is the brain of your home and your house. And the reason for that is that's where everything has to get. Yeah, but I thought they pulled that off the air. Good morning, Poetically. Glad to see you made it. They have pulled something, they pulled programming off that was beneficial. And, frankly, what's happening is we got to take a look at what's going on in the world and go, okay, I cannot on my own change that. You, on the other hand, can absolutely change your own world. Okay. Now, I have decided, like I said, the beginning, and where are we? We're in July. So the beginning of June, it's like, no, I have to start doing something. I've got to change the way my world is working. And the only one that can do that is me. So I've talked to a lot of different people. Okay. And the whole idea behind my going on to these videos and even going live. Okay. When I finally decided to go live, my goal with that is real simple. If I can take what I've been through, what I've spent literally 59 years of my life doing, okay, if I can take those tools that I've learned and pass them on, and somebody can gain benefit from them and move forward because of it, maybe I can save somebody a headache or two. Okay. Well, yeah, and the reality is there are 4 aspects in your life. And if you haven't done so, I would strongly suggest you mark these down. 4 aspects that must be kept in balance. Okay, now balance them out over the course of the week, because the fact is very few people work 6 hours a day. Okay, there are very few jobs that actually have a 6-hour shift. So you balance it over the course of a week, right? But you split them into 4 venues. Okay, your personal time. This is when you do your hobbies. This is when you do your own little errands, whatever you're doing of your own accord for you. Okay, it's when you sit down and watch your favorite show. Okay. You do your personal time. You do your interpersonal. That's your interaction. That's your quality time to relax and enjoy the company of friends, co-workers, that special someone, your loved ones, all of the people that are not you. That is your second area. The third area is your work, your method of generating money, or your education towards building towards it. Okay, that's the first three. Now, the fourth one is the one that most people overlook. Okay, the fourth thing, the fourth one is one most people overlook, and that is sleep. Now, I worked it out. Most people would talk to me about, oh, I need 8 hours of sleep. And I'm like, first of all, if you're sleeping 8 hours, and if this was just the logic behind it, I went, if I'm sleeping 8 hours, I'm sleeping a third of my life away. So I figured, okay, what happens? It was just a mathematical question. What happens if you don't lose quality of life or health? If you're still active, you're still able to function. What happens if you cut your sleep to 4 hours a night? And what I found was you gain roughly a month and a half living time in 1 year. Now, that's an awful lot of room to work. Okay. Now, the neat little thing there, Charlene, I do feel for you regarding the weight thing. Okay, I never had a problem with weight until I got a little older. And now I don't have a problem with it. I put it on easy. But I will tell you, the biggest key that I found with dropping weight was a mindset thing. And I don't mean that you just think about it and it works easier. Okay. I mean, literally, take a look at the fact that you'd like to get the weight down. Stop striving to lose it. Literally change your mindset to, I'm dropping it. I'm dropping the weight, or I'm discarding the weight. Because the problem with losing weight, when people lose something, they almost instinctively go out to try and find it again. And the complication there is in the case of weight, it usually seems to come back with company. Okay. So from that standpoint, the moment I said I'm dropping the weight, my weight started to come down. And all I did, I'm not an exercise buff. Well, in case you hadn't noticed, I'm not exactly buff. Okay. But all I did was I'm going to drop the weight because there is no way I'm not breaking that 250, period. Okay. The backbone of it boiled down to I'm dropping it. So I cut down on the amount I was eating, made sure I was eating stuff that was a little bit more effective. Okay, my blood pressure was too high. I made a change to my diet based on what a friend of mine said, not what the doctor said. It was brilliant. Doctor come to me and goes, you need to be on blood pressure pills for the rest of your life. And I looked and I went, no, I'll find a different way to do it. I did stay on the medication long enough to get things under control. But my blood pressure, when she made that comment, was at 180 over something, which admittedly, since I just came out from having a stroke, there was a reason to worry about it. But all I did, a friend of mine turned around and said, look, try and use this oatmeal. It had quinoa, flax, and a number of other things in it. I buy a brand that has a green bag. It's Rogers, right? It's got 9 different grains in it. I have a half a cup of that and a half a cup of blueberries, right? 10 days, my blood pressure plummeted to normal. Okay. And I've been dropping the weight. Now I was averaging 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds a week. The last week, I've been dropping like a pound a day, 3/4 of a pound to a pound a day. And I haven't, my exercise routine really boils down to about 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes in the morning when I start weight training, which I will do as soon as I break the 200-pound mark. Then it'll up to about 10 minutes a day. I am not one for exercising. And of course, if you think about it, I'm in the middle of writing 30 books at the same time. I don't have a lot of time to stand around to be exercising. And frankly, as long as I'm healthy, and by the way, haven't been sick aside from some major ones. I haven't had a cold, the flu, or anything else in over 25 years. Okay. Now, meditation works like an absolute charm. You know, and the really neat thing. That's terrible. That's terrible, Denali. You know, Denali just goes, when I got divorced, I like to say I lost 280 pounds. 80 of it was mine. Stress will keep your weight up. There is no question there. See, the neat little part about the whole issue where it comes to taking control of your life. Figure out, and I literally mean, take a look at what you personally have control over. You've got control over what you do. You've got control over what you say. You've got control over, for the most part, what you think. You do not have control over how other people are going to take it. Now, I caution people regularly. It's like I tell people, I will make every single person I meet happy. Most of the people I make, some people I make happy because I show up. Most of them I make happy because I leave. Okay. And quite honestly, it really is. The key factor where it comes to yourself and to self-work there, and Denali, is you have to look at the work and go, who am I doing it for? Okay. What am I doing? That's where the real kicker to it is. Now, with this in mind, it has been wonderful having you here. Okay, I will be back again next week. I'll be back again continuing with the journey. Okay, I'm working on other things as I go along. Okay, but next week, and I don't know what the topic's going to be about next week, but if you've got any suggestions, I'd love to hear your comments in the comments below, or drop me a line in one of the points below, and let me know, because I don't make decisions that far ahead. There's all kinds of ways of getting a hold of me. But thanks so much for joining me today. And I will see you again. I will see you again shortly. Until then, though, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.